Aquarius, the week of July 26th to August 1st, 2026, delivers what might be the single most personally significant full moon of the year for your sign specifically. On July 29th, the full moon lands exactly in your own sign, conjunct Pluto, which has been transiting Aquarius for years now, forming an exact opposition to the Sun's rare conjunction with Jupiter in your seventh house of partnerships. On the same day, the lunar nodes shift axis, with the North Node moving into your own sign as well. Saturn also stations exactly retrograde on July 26th at 14 degrees Aries, joining Neptune in your third house of communication. Very few weeks concentrate this much direct astrological weight on a single sign's own identity, and this is one of them for you. Let's go through what all of this actually means for your money, your relationships, and your energy, using the real sky, not generic guesswork. Money and career move with real decisiveness this week thanks to Mars in Gemini sitting in your fifth house of creativity and self-expression. This is a strong week for pursuing a creative project or personal passion with real momentum. And there's genuine potential for that pursuit to connect to income if you push it forward rather than treating it as a side interest. Aquarius often keeps creative work deliberately separate from anything financial, and as though attaching money to it would compromise the idea. This week specifically rewards letting the two mix a little, since Mars here isn't asking you to sell out, just to let something you love actually sustain itself. Venus in Virgo, meanwhile, sits in your eighth house of shared resources, bringing a practical, detail-oriented energy to joint finances, a good week to actually review a shared account, a loan, or an arrangement with a partner, rather than assuming it's fine without checking. Early in the week, while the moon sits in Capricorn, your 12th house of rest and the subconscious, take advantage of the quieter mood for planning before the bigger, identity-focused events of Wednesday demand more of your emotional bandwidth. Relationships carry the real weight of the week, and it's worth sitting with directly. The full moon landing in your own sign, conjunct Pluto, in exact opposition to the Sun-Jupiter conjunction in your seventh house of partnerships, is asking the most direct version of a question the sky can pose. How much of yourself are you willing to hold on to when a relationship asks you to bend? Pluto's long presence in your sign has already been reshaping your sense of identity for years, and this full moon brings that ongoing transformation to a genuine peak moment. Right as Jupiter's generosity in your partnership house makes compromise feel easy and even flattering. That's precisely the trap worth naming. Jupiter can make giving something up feel generous and good-natured in the moment, even when it's actually a piece of yourself you'll miss later. Notice this week whether agreeing with a partner feels like genuine alignment or quiet self-erasure dressed up as easygoing flexibility. If you're partnered, a real conversation about how much independence you each need within the relationship may come up, and it deserves an honest answer rather than a reassuring one. Aquarius can default to intellectual distance rather than naming an emotional need directly, and this week specifically rewards skipping that detour. If you're single, this full moon might clarify exactly what kind of partnership would actually allow you to stay fully yourself, rather than requiring you to shrink to fit it. And that clarity is worth writing down rather than letting it fade once the week's intensity passes. An exact Venus-Mars square in your 8th house squares Mars in Gemini, your 5th house, suggesting a real pull between deep, serious intimacy and lighter, playful self-expression. Both are valid, and this week is simply asking you not to let one completely crowd out the other. Since Aquarius can sometimes intellectualize its way past the deeper request in favor of whatever feels more interesting in the moment. Energy and health this week center on a real checkpoint in how you communicate and think. Saturn stations exactly retrograde on July 26th, joining Neptune, already retrograde, in your 3rd house of communication and local connection. A station presses harder than an ordinary transit, since the planet appears to hang almost motionless in the sky, and with Neptune sitting in the same house. Expect some genuine confusion this week about whether your usual way of explaining yourself is actually landing the way you intend, or getting lost somewhere between what you mean and how it's received. Aquarius often trusts that a clear, logical explanation will be understood exactly as intended. This particular pairing of Saturn and Neptune suggests that assumption deserves double-checking more than usual this week. This is a good week to slow down and check for understanding rather than assuming your point has come across clearly. Asked directly whether you've been understood, rather than reading a nod or a quiet response as an automatic agreement. Since Neptune's fog this week makes silence unusually easy to misread, there's a longer story underneath this single week worth naming clearly because it's rare and directly reinforces everything else happening right now. The lunar nodes shifted this same week, with the North Node entering your own sign and the South Node settling into Leo, your 7th house of partnerships. For the next 18 months, your growth edge lies in genuine, undiluted self-definition rather than the more familiar, well-practiced comfort of shaping yourself around a relationship or a partner's expectations. It's worth noting how rare it is for a North Node to sit exactly in someone's own sign. It's an unusually direct message, essentially confirming in the language of the nodes what the full moon is already telling you at nearly full intensity the same week. This week's full moon is essentially a preview arriving with unusual force of that entire 18-month chapter, and it's unlikely you'll be able to treat this week as ordinary once you notice. How many separate signals are pointing at the exact same theme? So here's where this actually leaves you, Aquarius, heading into August. The full moon and the nodal shift are both asking the same question at nearly full volume. Who are you when you're not adjusting yourself for someone else? Jupiter's generosity in your partnership house is real and worth enjoying, but not at the cost of the self this whole week is asking you to hold on to. If you take one thing from this week, let it be a willingness to disappoint someone slightly rather than disappear a little more into what they expect of you. If this reading resonated with you, hit like and subscribe.